Coming up, Peter Mandelson, once New Labour's arch strategist and until this week the UK's ambassador to Trump's America, has just been dumped by Prime Minister Keir Starmer after the Epstein files revealed that Mandelson, formerly known as the Prince of Darkness, stayed chummy with the convicted paedophile even after Epstein's conviction. Add in Angela Rayner's resignation just days before, and the Labour government's crisis now looks like it might be terminal. And while Starmer's hollow, unfocused and forever right-shifting project collapses, Farage's Reform Party continues to expand its lead in the polls. Stay tuned. Peter Mandelson was the self-styled Grand Wizard of New Labour. He's been lurking in the shadows of British politics for 30 years now, whispering in ears, pulling strings and even bringing in donors to New Labour through whatever means presented themselves. His latest incarnation was as Starmer's extremely dodgy pick as Britain's ambassador to Washington, a bridge between the Trump administration and the British Labour government. What was Starmer thinking? That Mandelson and Trump's shared friendship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein would be a solid foundation for the special relationship going forward? Following the cock-ups over the winter fuel payments and the restructuring of universal credit, the whole Mandelson episode has cast yet further doubt on Starmer's political judgment. The release this week of subpoenaed documents from the Epstein estate show what many had long suspected. Mandelson wasn't just another name in the black book, which Starmer knew when he appointed him, but it turns out that more than that, he was a close friend of Epstein. A close friend who kept up the relationship even after Epstein's conviction for sex offences. That's guilt not by association, but by complicity. And after 24 hours of trying to defend the indefensible, Starmer eventually realised he had no choice but to sack the Prince of Darkness. But before we look at the implications, please remember to check that you'll subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment and share a link to the video with your friends. Thank you so much. Mandelson's dismissal isn't just yet another staffing change, it's the end of Starmer's last bit of borrowed authority from the New Labour era under Blair. And whatever you think about Blair, in terms of election victories, don't forget he was the most successful Labour Prime Minister ever. Whereas the way things are shaping up right now, Starmer could go down in history as the worst. And the timing of Mandelson's dismissal couldn't be worse either. Just days ago, Angela Rayner walked. She wasn't just the deputy leader, she was perhaps the best connection that this particular Labour government has to the working class roots it claims to represent. With Rayner gone and Mandelson disgraced, Starmer is tottering. The loss of two party bigwigs this week has exposed Starmer for what he really is. An incompetent HR manager, a lawyer without an inspiring vision, and worst of all, a charisma bypass. There was a really interesting article in the iPaper this week. Georgia Chambers wrote that these twin departures mark a point of no return for Starmer's government. Starmer's project was already fragile, as it's been propped up by Blairite spinners and working class figureheads. But now, both those supports are badly eroded. And what's left is a Labour Party moving even further to the right, with no electoral strategy and with principles that, if the Daily Mail / Telegraph doesn't like them, well, they can always find others. Meanwhile, look what's happening in the polls. Farage's Reform can't believe their luck. The more Starmer's Labour and Badenoch's Tories ape Reform's hate-based xenophobic immigration policies, the more Reform 2025 Limited are validated, and the more the Overton window moves ever rightward. Reform's lead over Labour is expanding weekly now, and here's the really sickening part. The principal reason for Labour's landslide majority at the last election wasn't because of any great love for Starmer and Labour, it was primarily a vote against the Tories. Roll on 14 months and it's the parallel but bizarro situation. We know that the reason why Reform are surging in the polls isn't because the public are somehow inspired by Farage. Look at this chart. His net approval rating is in the toilet at minus 29%. That's truly astonishingly bad. But it's because Labour are so uninspiring. If Farage's net favourability is in the toilet, Starmer's net favourability figure of minus 44% is sitting under a fatberg in Thames Water's worst block sewer. It's incredibly bad. Because voters look at Starmer and his government and see no vision, no driving philosophy underpinning their policies, and certainly no plan for unpicking Brexit or tackling irregular migration, no plans to have the rich pay their fair share of the tax burden. And on health, the frankly concerning Wes Streeting, once more this week singing the hymn of discredited Blairite private finance initiatives to further erode the public ownership of our beloved NHS. The Starmer Labour government so far has been a parade of U-turns, cover-ups, botched policy implementation and the occasional loss of key figures like Rayner and Mandelson. The recent cabinet shake-up has also moved the government even further to the right, and by this stage it's clear that the more Labour try to out-Tory the Tories, the more they drive voters into Farage's arms. By parroting Tory talking points on immigration, welfare and green investment, Starmer has achieved the impossible. He's made Labour look increasingly indistinguishable from the now very irrelevant party that wrecked the country in the first place. So when a populist demagogue like Farage comes along, shouting slogans about betrayal, foreign rapists and lawlessness, people lap it up. Mandelson's sacking is just the latest symptom. It proves what many of us have been saying all along. You can't win back trust by recycling the very people who hollowed out Labour in the first place. And you certainly can't expect voters to vote for a Farage Tribute Act when the original artist, or con artist in his case, is on the ballot paper as an alternative. The departure of Angela Rayner and the Prince of Darkness Mandy is not the end of Labour's troubles. In fact, it could well be the beginning of Starmer's downfall. Because when your deputy and your Blairite stalwart both vanish in the same week, it could be the precursor for a systematic collapse. And unless Starmer finds the courage to stop trying to attract the right-wing vote and to become a leader and actually fight for progressive change in this country, for workers, for communities, and to undo the damage of Brexit, then the polls will just keep shifting against him and reform will keep laughing. So, yes, leading Blairite Mandelson's gone, voice of the northern working class Rayner's gone, so who's next? Starmer? Well, I think he's wobbling, and I think popular Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham looks ever more like the king across the water. He's now the only senior Labour politician with a positive net approval rating amongst the UK electorate at plus 7%. And amongst Labour members, his net approval rating is a stonking plus 78%. And it's not just me who looks at Andy Burnham as a potential replacement for Keir Starmer. George Eaton wrote in the New Statesman this week, Burnham fills the same political role that Boris Johnson did under David Cameron. An alternative leader who is popular among both party and country and who routinely dissents on matters of national policy. So there's that in the left-leaning New Statesman, and at the other end of the spectrum, here's Stephen Bush writing in the Financial Times. There is a significant appetite among Labour MPs to believe that the government can still be turned around without a change of leader and all the instability that would bring. But a moment of crisis or panic could very swiftly make this government resemble Johnson's in 2022, undone by panicking, unhappy backbenchers, blundering from landslide to disaster in a single term. So there you go. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. From the New Statesman to the Financial Times, the sentiment is gathering momentum. With Burnham installed before the next general election, we'd see the bursting of the Reform Farage bubble for sure. Now, there's a good positive thought to end on. And if you've watched this far, don't forget to check that you're subscribed to the channel, like this video, leave a comment and share a link to the video with your friends. And if you want to go even further to support independent, progressive political commentary, hit the join button and become a channel member today. Full details on the link below.